Hello everyone, yes it is he again, the silly one, back for some more Battletech, carrying on with the wonders of the Arsenal expansion, and boy have we got a mammoth session for you today. Sorry for the it sounds like an advert, doesn't it? I'll just show you my mug. Oh, wrong way, everything's back to forward. Yeah, my ex-girlfriend bought me this, so I got the hint. That's not true, but still. Hey, right, so yes, a mammoth one today, or a big chunk. As you can see, or if you've been following, I've been going through the list of Arsenal cards. We've done a few missions, we've done a few commands, although we haven't done all the commands. We had a look at the Inner Sphere mechs last time, and there's loads of stuff to do, but it seems to be big and bulky, and I have an opportunity, I have a space, I have a gap, and I'm going to go for it. The command cards, well, let's have a recap. Let's take a step back. Missions: 2 clan, 2 inner sphere, 5 generic, although arguably one of them probably should be clan only. Sorry, not clan only, inner sphere only. We've looked at those. I've done the clan commands. I've done the generic ones. I'm going to try and finish the inner sphere ones today. And what you could say is, boy, do they get some command cards in Arsenal. They get 24 command cards, whereas the clan get 5. And I've actually got round to adding everything up and filling the numbers in. For those of you who have seen the earlier streams, you'll know that some of this got populated along the way. There are no generic mechs, and no generic missions, and no generic battle armour. And what this means is that the entire Arsenal set is just under 17% generic, which is fine, because then everyone can play with it. Clan get just under 30%, and the Inner Sphere get 54% of the cards. And you're just thinking, well, is that really all that fair? Given that they were probably in the position of power with a lot of the good pilots and other stuff, you'd probably say they got the better cards. And then to go and dump loads and loads of vehicles on, and make swarms left, right and centre. And if you're a clan player at this point, you either went and found another game, or you embraced the Inner Sphere vehicle swarminess for a while, and then after it settled down, you thought, this is a bit pants, isn't it? You know, they've got all these good cards, and okay, yeah, I've got a few good ones, but I don't get anywhere near the choice that these guys get. So it just shows a bit of the disparity in Arsenal. And I suspect at the time the split was probably 50-50 clan Inner Sphere in the player base, and this just moved it the other way. So anyway, let me just take my little graphic aside. Here is Lackey, and I've done the right thing today, because I realised I wasn't doing it right previously. I've put one copy of all of the command cards in my deck list, which means I can search and show you other things, which is what I probably should have done when I was doing all the other ones, but it is what it is, and there we go, and I'm not going to go back and change it. There's something quintessentially British about tea. Right then, so we have 24 cards to get through, and if I talk for a minute on each and a bit of extra bluster, then this is easily going to get to an hour, and it could get longer than that. So I'm not going to hang around, I'm going to crack on and get on with it. And the first one on the list is Mech Recall, and the reason it's first on the list is because it's apostrophe Mech Recall and not an A, because this list is done alphabetically, I hope. It should be. He looks like it, yes. So here we go. Let's pull this out so you can see it a bit better. That's a bit better. So here's Mech Recall. It is a 4-cost, 4 politics, command subterfuge Inner Sphere Liao card. So Liao only. Scrap Mech Recall when it is revealed. Put a patrolling mech. Choose a patrolling mech, put that mech in owner's hand. I think the wording could be improved a bit. It just says patrolling mech. Okay, so note that it doesn't work on guards. If you want guards, then you want to play with manipulation of Romano. But I suppose is a patrolling mech a guarding mech? Is it in the patrol region? In guarding mechs are in the stockpile? I would suspect it's patrolling region. Put that mech in owner's hand, which is basically the equivalent, if you've played some of the other games, around of bounce or retreat or whatever else you want to call it. Now that could be quite good. That could be quite good on 1 or 2 levels. For example, you might have your super duper mech with damage counters on it, and you think, do you know what? It's got 7 damage counters on it. It cost me 5. It's going to take me 5 assemblies to put it on the table next turn, or it's going to take me 7 assemblies at a rate of 1 a turn to repair it. You might decide to stick it back in your hand. Note that when you do so, it only says put the mech back in your hand. So anything that's attached to it, retrofitted missile systems, laser systems, pilots, intimidating paint jobs, all that kind of gubbins get scrapped, as does the pilot. Okay, they don't have a safe ejector seat kind of thing, or at least not in this version of the game. And you put the mech back in the hand, everything else gets scrapped. So that can be really powerful. Your opponent is playing Merchant Cast. They've just Clan Big Mech deck. They've just put a Madcat A on the table and put Vlad on it. And before they can attack, you just bounce it back. Vlad gets scrapped, and they have to pay 14 for their wonderful Madcat A again. Nice. It's a great card to stall your opponent. It can give you numerical advantage. It's Liao only, but when you look at the legacy and let me just change my filters slightly. Let me take these off because I want to go and show all the sets, and I'm going to do this by name and just change that over. So if I now want to look at Sonny, as he's often called, here's our little friend Sonny, looking a bit Jackie Chan with the evil eyebrow and the sharp haircut. Put any subterfuge from your scrap heap into your hand, so you can bounce it with mech recall. It gets put back, it goes into the scrap heap. You can tap this and get it back. And then he's got a friend called Max who allows you to play it for free. So you can perpetually, with this combo, should you draw it, especially with something like Task Force Serpent, return a unit per turn for the cost of nothing. Okay, it costs you a deployment, but you can put your opponent's unit, 1 unit each turn, back in their hand, which means, you know, that's quite powerful, especially if it's a big mech. It's not as effective versus swarms, okay, but against a big mech deck, it really does slow them up. And of course, if they've just been built and then you go back to hand, they don't get to attack. Then you build them again, and then it's the following turn they attack. So it actually delays effectively an attack by 3 turns, effectively, if timed right. 1 the initial attack, 1 the rebuild, and then 1 the following one. Okie dokie. So it's quite useful. It's not going to be a mainstay of the deck. Probably not. Likely to be maybe a sideboard card, or if it is main deck, it's 1 or 2. But it is potentially useful. Okie dokie. Next up, a Chaos March veteran. 0-3 tactics. Command, Inner Sphere, Liao, and Marek. It's a pilot. It gives you 1 initiative and 1 attack. And it has a bonus that says mech piloted by Chaos March veteran gets an additional +2 attack. Use this ability only during battle. So obviously if you attack the stockpile and you're unblocked, then there's no battle, so it gets +1. But if something gets in the way and there's a fight, it gets +2. And that +2 can be really, really nasty for clan. And here's our card that makes the difference. If we look at the Wraith, this is the classic example, which is also a Marek and Liao card, a 1/7/3 jump, okay, for 4. But if you put Chaos March Veteran on here, it does 4 damage. But in battle, it does 6 damage. Because the Chaos March Veteran does 2 extra. And that's really, really strong. And on this particular unit, a 173, when you think about Wolf having Phantoms, it's going to need 2 Phantom A's or 3 units with 3 damage each to kill this. And your Chaos March Veteran is going to give 6 damage, which is probably going to kill one of the Phantoms. Let's just pop a Phantom up here. So here's the 4 damage A, here's the 3 damage B. Maybe there's the awful Phantom Prime. Maybe the 3-cost Fenris, if you look at the Dash Wolf deck. So the Chaos March Veteran is actually quite strong. I ended up losing, or probably losing, 2nd place in the first tournament I entered, the UK Nationals, when my opponent sideboarded 2 Chaos March Veterans and 2 Wraiths into his deck, and then proceeded to draw 1 of each in the first 8 to 10 cards. Because I had no way of getting rid of it. I hadn't got the firepower, and I was just going to lose mechs. I was going to trade and lose quite drastically. So I was put on the back foot and didn't really recover. I mean, the guy Graham Rains played out the rest of the game quite well in that respect. I didn't get a great draw, but that's the way it goes, you know. You could argue it stopped me having a trip to the States, which it would have done effectively. If I'd have won that game, I'd have come 1st or 2nd and got one of the train tickets, train to the States from the UK, plane tickets, please. So they're quite good. Also note that during battle also applies to the wonderfully powerful single combat. These engage them in a battle. So that's a battle. Chaos March Veteran gets that bonus. So a reasonable card, probably doesn't quite cut it into the tournament scene, but still a good, strong card regardless. Okie dokie. Coordinator Theo Carita, or Uncle Teddy, as 1 or 2 people call him. For 5 politics, command unique, inner sphere, Carita. Counts as Theo when in play. Making a deployment costs each opponent an additional 2 + 2L. So this, if you go back to my streams, hold on a second, I will get the number for you. It is an early stream. We are talking Fox 16 card Wonder, if I can find it. I think I did it quite early on. It might, I probably should have done it as stream number 16. It was actually number 8. That goes back a whole while. But stream number 8 abuses this, because if your opponent hasn't got logistics in play and only has 1 resource, and you're stopping them deploying cards, and that's every deployment. So every deployment has 0-2L. So if you've only got 1 asset on the table, putting a deployment is going to cost an additional L. You're not going to be able to activate another asset. And the 16 card Wonder recording explores that. And that's why the 16 card Wonder worked. You could restock 2 cards, your opponent couldn't draw anything, and you'd beat them down. This then got used in the, that's just the door, in the Star League unique Hasty Alliance deck. And if your opponent wasn't playing logistics, this is one of the uniques it went for early in order to lock them down, and then just flood the board with Hollanders and charges and stuff like that. And there was no comeback for it. Very powerful, not well designed, not a well designed card at all in that respect. You can kind of see what they're trying to do with it, but it's It's kind of a bit like the clan commands, you know, like trial of refusal and possession, where if you're playing clan, you're totally screwed, and if you're playing nothing else, you don't care. Very similar here. If you're playing clan, then you're probably screwed, and if you're playing something else, then you probably don't care. Yeah. So he's quite powerful, but he's still only unique. Hasty Alliance puts him on the table. Okay. Dan Allard. Come on, Wes. Come on, Dan. Come on. Looking a bit Scandinavian with his little goatee beards. He's a stylish dude. You know, you got to know what the goatees are about and whatever else. So, two politics, 2 tactics. Politics is a little, but hey, you've got Solaris contacts. You can put him on the table. He's a pilot. He has +1 initiative. He has +2 attack. He is unique. He is in a sphere, and he also has the mercenary keyword. And we'll have a look at that in a minute, because there's a nice little thing you can do with this guy and a few others. The +2 attack is quite nice, and his ability is actually really good as well. Reassign any pilot you control to a mech in a group that contains mech piloted by Dan Allard. Use this ability during a mission involving mech piloted Dan Allard. Okay, so in reality, this is basically the reassigned pilot mission built into this Dan Allard card with a 4 to 6 roll. Because as long as Dan Allard survives, you get to do it in the next battle, and after and after and after, as long as he sticks around. So roll just to check, reassign pilot. Roll a die, 1 to 3. Reassign a pilot from one of your untapped mechs to another one of your mechs. 4 to 6, do it, and then put this mission back in your hand. Dan is basically the same. Reassign a pilot you control to any mech in a group that contains mech piloted by Dan Allard. So it's got to be in that group. And obviously there needs to be a space for him. You cannot just kick out any other pilot. You cannot use that ability if there is no space. Simple as that. He's quite decent on that, because you never know whether your opponent is going to use it or not. And also you have to look at the board state and make decisions. And if you own Dan Allard and you're attacking, for example, and your opponent assumes it, and they could overplay their hand or use a mission that maybe they wouldn't normally want to do, and you get that out of their hand, and then you don't activate the ability, then they've wasted that card. Now, because he has the mercenary keyword, he is pullable. He is pullable with the Mercenary Relations division. Take any mercenary card from your scrap heap and put it in your hand. So that's basically Melissa or Black Market on steroids. That's really good. And you also have this Commission's Contacts card, which is search your stockpile for any mercenary card, show that to all players and put it in your hand, shuffle your stockpile. So you can actually pull him out of a deck quite nicely with those cards if they're on the table. Obviously, if you've got him in his hand, then they can get fed to the BMC machine. So I would say Dan Allard is a pretty decent card. I think he's worthy of consideration. I think because he's a mercenary and doesn't have any specific house affiliations, you could arguably stick him in any deck. Any pilotish type deck, you could put him in, and he has seen play. He has been in the odd Davian pilot deck or the pilot Star League piloty type thing decks. He has been there on occasion, and it's a decent card. It's a good card. Tournament worthy? Yes. Okay. Right, Doc Trevina. 2 tactics for a man with no hair, and amazing shoulder pads that look like he probably should be in Warhammer as a space marine than anything else. Command unique in a sphere. He's a Steiner unique, and he is a static command card. He sits in your control post. He has 4 armor and 1 structure, which makes him arrow 4 food. He has 2 attack if you decide to try and beat him up. and his ability says tap prevents 2 damage to each of your fast mechs. Use this ability during a mission. 2 damage to each of your fast mechs. Inner Sphere is not really widely regarded for its fast mechs. It does have some good ones, but they're quite difficult to get together in that respect. And it is specifically fast mechs. I wonder if he would be better in an ARDC deck when you've got a load of fast clan units, but they're all aligned to Steiner. The fact that he sits there makes him a target. The fact that he's got one structure makes him Arrow 4 food. He might make the cut in draft, but he's unlikely to make the lineup of most decks. Not great. Right then, Lizzie O'Bannon, looking like one of the Centrinians girls of Battletech, crossed with Mad Max's wannabe girlfriend, if you've ever seen any of the Mad Max movies. She's a 3-cost, 2 tactics, command unique, inner sphere, pilot. She should have pilot on there, really. Pilot, +1 initiative, +2 attack. And she has quite a nice ability. When you activate Lizzie, you may search your scrap heap, stockpile and or hand for Tanya, her sister, and you may deploy and activate that card without paying its construction cost. This does not count as a deployment. If you search your stockpile, shuffle it afterwards. Okay, so here's Elizabeth, and then if we look at Tanya, you will see that she is in fact the other half of the picture. She's looking a bit more tank girly with the elastoplast and whatever else. I mean, if these guys had the mercenary kill keyword, that would be stellar, because you could pull one with your mercenary relations division, put it into play, and then bring the other one in and get 2 for the price of 1. Now, what you have to appreciate here is that it says when you activate Elizabeth O'Bannon, or Tanya O'Bannon. Sorry, Tanya. So this doesn't work with Solaris contacts, and everybody thinks it does, and it doesn't. It says choose a pilot in your play and put it into play on an unpiloted unit. This does not count as a deployment. So with Solaris contacts, you are putting them into play without activating them. Activating means that you put them in your construction region, you pay the cost of them, then you reveal and activate them having paid the cost. Solaris Contacts doesn't pay the cost, bypasses all of that, and puts them straight into play on a unit. So if you use Lizzie or Tanya with Solaris Contacts, you don't get the ability to go and pick the other one up. Now, there is a little caveat here that if that, whichever one it is, gets scrapped, and then you go and pick the other one, the sister, up, and then put her into play, normally you can go and get the one that's scrapped from the scrap heap and stick her in play again. They do come back as the terrible twins. So there's a bit of a cheat around there. So you can play around that. They're quite good. I mean, if you think about it, you're basically paying 1.5 resources for a +1 initiative, +2 attack pilot. And if you look at Dan Allard, he's cost us 2p, 2t with the reassigned pilot, and 1 initiative, 2 attack, 1 initiative, 2 attack. So, you know, from that point of view, then they're quite a good bargain. They're quite reasonable, you know, 2 of these together. And as I said, the shenanigans with scrapping one and pinging the other. I mean, you can have both in play, scrap one, play mech recall on the mech with... No, it would bounce it into the scrap heap. But I was just thinking you can mech recall it and put it back in your hand and then play it again. But you can't. But if you black market for one, then you get the other. So that kind of recurrence is like constantly having good shooting in your hand. And there's a die roll when you use good shooting, and if you hit the target, you get your money back, and you get another good shooting again, with these +2s left, right, and centre. So they're quite useful. They're quite interesting. It's a different mechanic. That mechanic had not been in the game before these two. And as I understand it, there's a reasonably thematic mechanic as well. Okay. So. Yes. The legacies. Hans Davian's legacy. 2-3 politics, which probably puts most people off to start with the politics. Command unique legacy inner sphere Davian. As if you don't need enough keywords. If you control no Davian cards in play, so that means on the table, not your hand, anything on the table with the Davian keyword counts. If you haven't got any of those, scrap this legacy. Otherwise, it cannot be scrapped from play. So you can't do anything with it. You can't assassinate it, even though it's unique. You can't unlikely love affair it, because it's not unique. It's the only way to scrap it is to get rid of any cards that count towards the legacy. So anything with the Davian keyword. Okay. Choose an attacking mech. That mech gets +2 armor. Whoa, isn't that exciting? Use ability during a mission. All right. So it gets +2 armor. Big deal. Why is that a big deal? Well, a lot of Davian units are cheap. They have reasonable armor, reasonable structure, low damage. And they work on durability. You can't get rid of them fast enough. So giving them more armor just makes the situation a little worse. It's kind of win more, but the fact that it's 2-3 politics, most people would just rather have another unit on the table. The only advantage with this is that you don't need to tap it to get to the ability. So you might use that on something that's a defending deck. You might... Oh yes, the wonderful castle defense that we talked about the other day. Prevent 2 damage to each guarding mech. So let's have Hansi Davian there. Let's give them 2 armor. Let's put that up. Let's do it on all of our mechs with castle defense, because we're playing the TCG, the spin-off version of the original game, where you can guard with multiple mechs and they don't tap. And then you can just put up a huge wall. Take the hint, Donald. This is how to do a wall. And nothing's going to get through. So, yeah. It's not good in the original. You could probably abuse it in another version of the game. Okay. Holovid Frame Up. 2 4P. Command Subterfuge Inner Sphere Lau Steiner. I've got to say this. You've got this. Where are we? Come on, Lucky. This angry Swedish woman here getting heavy on her Liv Tyler-esque ABBA wannabe Annika Rice Swedish daughter. Yeah, I know who they are. I'm just having a bit of a laugh. Scrap Holovid when it's revealed. Choose an opponent and roll a die. So maybe they are considering multiplayer Battletech. Scrap a unique card of that opponent's choice. Deal 3 damage to your stockpile. Okay. Scrap a unique card of your choice on a 3-6. Deal 3 damage to that opponent's stockpile. Well, actually, that's not too bad considering. But you've got to remember here. So this is a command subterfuge. So you can have a number of these in your deck. Okay. Scrap a unique card of the opponent's choice. So this does depend on what is on the table. If you're not playing with uniques, and they are, then it doesn't matter who owns the unique. It's got to be a unique that's scrapped. The only thing is you take 3 damage. Whereas if it's the other way, you get to choose, and they get 3 damage. So, you know, if you're playing politics and your opponent is playing a pilot deck with Kai and Victor, for example, this could be reasonably powerful because you're guaranteed to get one of them out of the way. And you get to do 3 damage or take 3 damage. But it's guaranteed. The only thing is who chooses. The problem with this is it's 2 4p. Yes, you can recur it with Liao, but realistically, most people will just play Unlikely Love Affair, which is for 1, means you restock that card. Put that unique somewhere else. Okay. Okay, there's a 3 damage, which could be for you or for them, which I suppose is worth considering. But then if they're not playing a unique, it's worthless. So from that point of view, it's sideboard at best, and most people will run Unlikely Love Affair because you're not required to run politics to pay for it. Please excuse me while I readjust my chair. Right, okay. Next up we have hot-loaded LRMs. Not LRM5, LRMs. 0-2 tactics, command enhancement, and it's an inner sphere only. Right, this wins, or it has to be up there for convoluted explanations. Play hot-loaded LRMs only on a mech or vehicle with the missile option. Enhanced mech or vehicle gets plus X attack, where X is equal to the number of missiles it can fire. Okay. At the end of each mission involving enhanced mech or vehicle, roll a die. If the die roll is less than or equal to the amount of structure damage taken during the mission by that mech or vehicle, scrap it. Okay, it's just incredibly complicated. I think most people didn't play it because it was just too complicated to understand. It was a bit like Steel Mech. All those counters and revealing them and hiding them behind your back and all that kind of stuff. It's just... Okay, so it's in a sphere only, but you need a mech with lots of missiles and durability because you don't want them to take structure damage. Yeah, so what would be cool? Well, the Ontos, maybe. It's +3 attack. That's quite nice. It's quite nice to have +3 attack. But what else have you got that has missiles? What springs to mind? The Perseus, maybe? Missile 3? Hot-loaded LRMs? 2 armor? It could probably take structure. I mean, on this, I guess it's durable, but if you roll a 6, if you deal 6 structure to it, damage die roll is less than or equal to the amount of structure taken, scrap it. So it just seems like you're hurting yourself more than you're getting. I mean, the +3 maybe is quite useful, although in a sphere it doesn't really have a great deal of missile options. No. Don't play with it. Put it next to heavy industry. Jade Monkey. Okie dokie. I always look at this and think, okay, fine, right. So this guy has given his boyfriend this present. It's just that looks like the box is some sort of squid out of Alien or Cthulhu or something like that. And it's a bloodthirsty, tentacly thing about to jump on his face and hug it and kill him. And then this just yeah. I bet it looks really good in the full image. It's just reducing it down here just doesn't look quite good. 0-1p, so it's only going to cost you 1 if you have to pay the politics buyout. It's an enhancement. It's an enhancement for the inner sphere. Play Jade Monkey on a pilot or command card. Okay, if card enhanced by Jade Monkey goes to your scrap heap, you may put that card in your hand afterwards. You can deploy it revealed to make an additional deployment. Okay, so basically it kind of works like a preemptive black market or Melissa. Instead of something going to your scrap heap, it goes to your hand. It has to be a pilot or command card, of which there generally aren't that many in your deck. The alignment with politics isn't too bad because, as I said, you can pay 1 for it and ignore the politics. But it basically works like a black market. Never seen it played. It's a bit on the edge, and most people just put black market in for the utility. And that allows you to bring back any card, whereas this is only a pilot or command. So sometimes you just want the mechs. So black market, much more flexible. Janus Marek's Legacy, 1/3 politics. This come on. I'm just having flashbacks to the armour that they wore in Buck Rogers, the original series here. And then the guy at the black looks like he's Hindu with the strange thing on his head. Okay. Command unique, Legacy, Inner Sphere, Marek. If you control no Marek cards, scrap Janus Marek's Legacy. Otherwise, it cannot be scrapped from play. So that's the theme with all the Legacy cards in here, whether it's Hansi or Maxis or whoever else it is. If you've got cards with that keyword on that are affiliated to that faction or house, then that's the only way getting rid of them to get rid of this. As long as you control any Marek cards other than the Legacy, each of your mechs costs 1 resource less to activate. Now, that's quite nice, but Marek's not really quite the swarmy type. Maybe saving 1 resource on a unit is quite reasonable. Could you go ATP Marek with it? Probably could. 1 3p, 4. I think if you don't play politics, you've got to say, is this going to be around for 4 turns to save me 4 resources? And at that point, only on my 5th turn am I breaking even. And in that respect, then is it worth a card? Are there other things I should have in my deck? Would I rather have another final push or another unit or something or other like that? So it kind of doesn't really fit, or it could be made to work. It's just nobody's really done it or made it, or it hasn't really happened. That makes me think it's not going to happen. Maybe that's a challenge. Maybe that's today's challenge. Go and make a deck with Janus Marek in it and loads of Marek units. It could work. I think ATP you could make that work quite nicely. And of course, obviously, you've got to draw it. But hey ho. Right. Jerry Cranston. Kind of looking like that Scandinavian wannabe. 2 for politics. Command unique, Inner Sphere. Davian unique. Counts as Galen Cox, 1 in play. Gerard does not untap as normal during your untap phase. Oh, something special about him. He's a command card that's going to sit there with 3 armor and 2 structure. So how does he untap? Choose an opponent. Opponent may not play mission cards until the beginning of your next turn. Use this ability during your deploy phase. Okay. 2 resources. Untap Jerry. Use this ability during your deployment phase. So they've basically given him the communications blackout ability. Scrap when revealed until the beginning of the next turn. No player may play mission cards. They've basically given him that, but tried to make it flexible by saying that it's an opponent and you can play missions. I mean, communications blackout's not played because you never know whether people are going to play missions or not. You never know whether they're going to stockpile them, i.e. not play them next turn, and then the following turn you get your head handed to you because they've just unleashed a pushing the envelope of superior nav and a risky combat, and you've lost 4 units and they've done 20 damage to your stockpile kind of thing. So is it worth 2 resources? Would you rather have another unit on the table to block and take some of that damage? Because it's just going to stop him playing the mission. It's not going to stop him attacking or defending. And then you've got to defend him himself because he's a command card. So, not impressed. Jump troops. Okay. Now, I could never work out here what was going on, because it does look like they're jumping down a big hole in the ice and heading into the water, but maybe it's not with the vapor trails. We'll see. 1, 2L, 2T, command, inner sphere, tap. So this is a command card. It sits on the table with 1 armor, 2 structure, and deals 2 damage. It's a little painful to get rid of. +1 initiative, and target gets +2 attack. Okay, so, right, let's be clear again here. Target is who the target of the mission is. So if you want your side to do it, the target has to be something you own. Your stockpile, your unit, your command card. So you kind of got to wait for this to attack, or be attacked. If target is damaged, attacking player may choose to redirect 3 damage to jump troops, scrapping it. Use this ability during battle. You may deploy jump troops revealed to make an additional deployment next turn, or this turn. So the 3 damage basically kills it, which is going to die anyway. And you get +2 attack, or the target gets +2 attack. It's just way too situational. You've got to wait for a unit to be hunted or a command card to be attacked. And +2 on the stockpile's not great. And if you're going to do 3 damage to it with a dash of prime, say, all that's going to happen is going to get redirected to this and it's scrapped. But the thing is, if you've got a dash of prime, you're going to attack the stockpile. You're not going to attack this because you're going to kill your dash of prime. Actually, no, it'll work anyway, won't it? He's just going to. So this is going to give you initiative and 2 attack. Right, so yes, if dash of prime goes against this, it does 3 damage, which is enough to kill this itself, the jump troops, and the 2 damage from jump troops is enough to kill dash of prime. If you send the dash of prime to the stockpile, then you tap this, you get 1 initiative, it gets 2 damage, which is what this would have, which means you would scrap dash of prime. Dash of prime does 3 to the stockpile, which gets redirected to this, and it dies. So basically, on top of that, the only bonus from tapping this is to have +1 initiative. Why do you think it's not played? Pick it off with a unit, and that assumes that that assumes the unit's a dash of prime. If it's a Fenris prime and it's 3 attack against here, then it's not going to make much difference. Avoid it. Play something else. Okie dokie. Katrina Steiner's Legacy. Oh, it's the Liv Tyner wannabe, but looking a bit more Michelle Pfeiffer, maybe, shall we say. 2, 3P. It's the Steiner Legacy. Unique, inner sphere only, and if you control no Steiner cards, then she gets scrapped. Fine, we've done all of that with the legacies, we know how they work. So she can sit there, you cannot attack her. The only way to get rid of her is to kill all the Steiner cards, and her ability is tap, make an additional deployment this turn, use this during your deploy phase. That's pretty strong. An additional deployment. Could be a unit, could be a resource. Obviously, after you've gone through her on the table 5 cards, your hand is very low, assuming you continue to make the standard amount of deployments each turn, because you've used up your 5 starting cards, and you probably want to factor a bit of draw in. Yes, you can pull her early with Hasty Alliance and get a huge advantage. Obviously, pulling her early requires the Steiner keyword to be in play on units and command cards. And provided you can maintain that, then an additional deployment for a number of turns is very, very powerful. It would work great in an ARDC deck. You've got a number of uniques in there. So there's a load of hasty food. Hasty food being Hasty Alliance to draw 1 and put it into play with the other. She's great. She's great. She would be... ARDC would be the new Mechless if Disguised Coordinates was banned. She would be in that for a start, just for the extra deployments. Full stop. She's really good. She's really powerful. and providing you've got Steiner cards, you can't get rid of it. So, hey, what's not to like? Keith Smith, the Davian Steiner computer cyber geek wizard. Does look like he's still at high school, doesn't he? 2-2L, which is a little odd for uniques. He has an ability, he's a command card, he's going to sit in your post with 4 armour and 1 structure. I'm not sure how that velvet jacket gives him 4 armour, and that that beige shirt gives him 1 structure, but hey ho. Definitely arrow 4 food on 1 structure. And he allows you, if you tap him, to look at the top 3 cards of an opponent's an opponent's stockpile, and arrange them in any order. Use this during your deploy phase. So that's quite good. So you've got a couple of options there. Once you tap him to look at those 3 cards, you can either put them back in the order that you intend to destroy them, because you've got more mechs, he's got no guards, you've got VTOLs or whatever else it is. Or you can think, do you know what, I'm not going to stick his stockpile this turn, so I am going to put the resources at the bottom so he doesn't get any resources, or otherwise, or prevent him drawing whichever pilot it is or whatever else. So the ability is useful. The 2-2L is pretty out there, and being aligned to Davian and Sir Ives is really naff. If he was 2-2T, you would see him played an awful lot more. Simple as that. The logistics buyout on him is a killer. With a tactics buyout, he would fit into a lot more decks, and his ability is useful enough that he could well be worth a shot, or at least a bit of playtesting. As he is, bind of food. Max and his legacy, again, 2-3 politics, as all the legacies are. Command unique legacy in a sphere, this one's Liao, yada yada yada. If you've got a Liao keyword in play, that's great, until when they all go, you scrap him, fine. Then the beast that this is, you may ignore construction costs when you activate subterfuge cards. Oh boy. Because that all of a sudden, okay, and he has politics, so he's looking for a politics buyout. Okay, so you're probably paying politics, but if we look at all the, where are we? Type, is it type? It is keyword subterfuge. When you look at all the cards that have, okay, we're not gonna go report from the Norns because it costs nothing and it's Steiner, and let's just where's my mouse gone? There it goes. Let's just go in a sphere. So your mech recall costs nothing, your assassination costs nothing. Sorry, Kai, you are a freebie, mate. Death Commando costs you nothing. I mean, that's just crazy. Death Commando strike, the way to remove practically anything in the game. Choose any command or any unit under construction. Any unit under construction is really powerful as well. And get rid of them. Holovid we've talked about. Manipulation of Romano. Tap all guarding mechs. That's great. Mask operatives. Tap on a mech the opponent controls. Not overly exciting, but Nekakami sabotage. Scrap it when revealed, unless you activate it during your deploy phase. Why did they put that wording in there? Deal 5 damage to a card under construction. Missions phase. Political stranglehold. Oh, political stranglehold. Maximilian Lao's legacy. Sun Tzu Lao. Political stranglehold for free. Recycle it. Your opponent doesn't draw any cards. It's tough to pull off, but if you can do it, then it's a game lockdown. Report for Norse, sabotage, missiles and other things. Steel Mech is that? I thought Steel Mech was Steiner, but obviously that's not the case. It's generic in a sphere. It's just just horrendously long and wordy, and people give up trying to work out what the card does halfway through and don't play it. And then you've got Zen Zeng, going terrorism. If the opponent makes a deployment this turn, deal 4 damage to his stockpile. If not, deal 2 to yours. You can make an additional deployment. Maybe there's a Lao self-damagey, jinxy. Maybe you could build this into something that chips away at the other guy's stockpile. I mean, if it's free, then you can effectively do 4 damage each turn. But you could also kill yourself with it, so maybe not. But the fact that you can play all of the... And these are only the ones in... where are we? In Arsenal. There are others here. What am I not showing? Because there's loads in here. Oh, of course. This is Innisphere only, isn't it? So we can also have the generic ones. Yes. This is where it gets even better. Because you can get Bride Pilot for free. You can get Defection. Oh, yeah, Defection, great card. You could go Disguise Coordinates for free. Because it's a subterfuge card. Holographic Decoy. Inside Job for free. It's a Trap for free. Misroute for free. Treachery. Unnamed Sources. Another very underrated card if in the right circumstances is used and you can literally draw half your deck. So, you know, Disguise Coordinates, Lao Mechless, achievable. Just need to get the units on the table. So he's pretty crazy. He's pretty crazy. Comstar didn't get a legacy. Neither did the clans. They got Sharilar in her wildly Primus form. So the boss herself. Counts as Sharilar were in play. Tap, scrap a resource card from your hand to draw a card. Well, black market, scrap 2 to get 1 you want from your scrap heap. Okay, it's 2, but doesn't seem a great deal. 2, 6 politics, 4 armor, 4 structure. Pretty strong. Very strong, in fact. But it's a politics card that gives logistics. It just seems all over the place, this card. It just seems like they it's like the lottery balls of what came out. Oh, armor and structure, 4 and 4. Oh, that's great. We'll provide an asset. No, it's logistics. Let's have a buyout. Oh, it's 6 politics. And then we'll have scrap a Mac mission, a resource card. I don't know what's going on with this. It's all over the place. Why? What? What's happening here? What's the thought behind this? And I don't know. And it's very specific on scrapping a resource card. Of course, this will be the card you draw when you are resource screwed. Yeah, never seen that in a deck. Secret build-up. Okay. The auto store. I love this picture because you've got all these little cars. Where are they? Come on, secret build. You got all these little cars and motorcycles, and then you've got the feet of this mech hiding in the corner. I think it's great. So, 2, 3L. Command Innisphere St. Ives. That's a bit on the outside of it. Scrap it when it's revealed. Look at the top 4 cards of your stockpile. Okay, that's not bad. Choose up to 2 of them which aren't mission cards. Show them to all players and deploy them. Okay, so you get 2 extra deployments. You're still going to pay for them. You just got to put them on the table. These do not count as deployment. Scrap the rest of those cards. So if you draw 4 mission cards, you can't deploy any of them. You've got to scrap them all. You get to choose what you deploy, but the other 2 go. And it's a deployment. And you still have to pay for them. So why would you pay for this over Mech Hanger? I've got way too many filters on again. Let me get rid of this and whatever else. Why would you pay for this over Mech Hanger? for example, tap, make an additional deployment this turn. So 1-5, okay. 2-2L. Secret build-up was 2-3L. So it's 2 regardless. You draw 4 cards, scrap 2, and get 2 deployments. Mech Hammer, tap it for a deployment straight away, tap it next turn, and you are in the same territory as Secret Build-Up, apart from the fact that you haven't scrapped 2 cards from your stockpile, and you've drawn 2 additional cards to deploy. So you're actually 4 cards down off your scrap heap, your stockpile, to make 2 additional deployments. Why wouldn't you Mech Hanger? Why wouldn't you Mech Hanger? Is there any synergy with the salvage crew? Whenever cards are scrapped from your stockpile, put them in your hand instead, and then choose that many cards in your hand and scrap those instead. And the operations officer, shuffle a number of cards from your scrap heap into your stockpile, then scrap that many cards from your stockpile. Use this ability. So it doesn't even have any synergy with those cards. I think the only card it has synergy with is Ghost Bear High Command. When a card other than a resource or unit is scrapped from your stockpile, put that card in your hand. Yeah, brilliant. St. Ives Ghost Bear Alliance coming up. I draw it with Secret Build-Up, I scrap my missions, and this puts my missions in my hand. Everything else I've got to deploy. Awful card. Don't play this. Okay. Right. On to this one, which has been a bit topical in the last few days. And I know this is going to be delayed before this comes out. So let me explain a little. In fact, we'll talk through Suicide Troops, the card. The thing, or this card, has been kind of looked at before, and I've just got to find it. Let me just find out where it is. The wonderful Apocalypse Liao deck from Maximus, which I actually think is really, really good. It's a really well designed deck. It has lots of synergy, and it hides all the time, and I can't find it. There it is. Stream number 18 on the Silly Wiz list, which explains this deck, that includes this card, which isn't Shenzhen, which explains Suicide Troops. I'm sorry, my mouse moves and Lackey goes and highlights over where you move your mouse to. This card is pretty snotty. It's 2, it's 3 tactics, it's command, enhancement, inner sphere, Kurita, and Liao. Okay, you play Suicide Troops only on a vehicle. If the vehicle enhanced by Suicide Troops attacks a site and is not blocked, put a guerrilla counter on the site. During your opponent's the repair reload phase, which if you're playing in the TCG, the league, is now the deploy, reload, repair, whatever phase it is, which totally screws so many cards. For each guerrilla counter on the site, Suicide Troops deals 2 damage to that site. Okay. During his or her deploy phase, so is the repair reload before or after, because they changed everything? Are you always going to take 2 damage and then you can get rid of it? Or can you get rid of it before the 2 damage? And I would say it would really only is fair if you give people the chance to get rid of it before the damage occurs, given what goes on here. During the deploy phase, opponent may tap any number of mechs or vehicles to remove that many guerrilla counters from any combinations of sites and scrap twice that many cards from his stockpile. So this is why I think it should be before, and you can try and get rid of it. Because if someone puts a counter on, okay, it's going to deal 2 damage, right? Unless you can tap a mech and scrap a card to remove that counter. So I'm guaranteed 1 damage from scrapping a card, and I've had to tap a unit, which can leave me at quite a strategic disadvantage. or I take 2 damage. And then next turn I take 2 more damage, and the turn after I take 2 more damage per counter, per suicide troops, kind of. And we'll explain. Okay. So let's just take a step back and work out where this fits really well. And it fits really well with cards like the Cyrano, which we'll come on to. And the reason that I've picked this one is because it has a VTOL. Vehicles with VTOL cannot be blocked by patrolling mechs or by patrolling vehicles without VTOL. So you can't, it's fast as well, so you can't block this unless you're guarding whatever it is. Simple as that. So the strategy is very simple. You put your suicide troops on a VTOL, he hasn't got a guard, you hit the stockpile. You put 1 guerrilla counter on it. Okay. Now, that guerrilla counter is tied to the suicide troops that you used with this vehicle. Okay. It's not tied to however many suicide troops are in play. It's tied to this vehicle that added the counter. Sorry, this suicide troops on this vehicle that added this counter. And then that counter will either do 2 damage or your opponent taps a unit and scraps a card, which is effectively 1 damage. So your quid's in on this. Okay. If this unit attacks again and puts a second counter on, then the suicide troops will deal 4 damage, 2 per counter. Okay. If somehow this vehicle then dies, okay, the suicide troops go with it to the scrap heap. Okay. They are no longer in play. The 2 counters on the stockpile do not do any damage because they are linked to the suicide troops that's been scrapped. If you've got another vehicle with another suicide troops on, it's the damage that that vehicle does that puts counters on. So you have to map the counters to whichever suicide troops is in play. And that's a pain in the arse. I mean, I was screaming for ages to get a generic counter put on there. I wanted purple and orange and a few other coloured counters. And we finally got a generic counter just for misrouted commands and stuff like that. But suicide troops, it's a nightmare to keep track of which counters are produced by which suicide troops, because the damage comes from the card. It says it in the middle here. Suicide troops deals 2 damage to that site. So this suicide troops deals the amount of damage to the site linked to the amount of guerrilla counters that have been put on the site by this card. Okay? And it's crazy. It really is pretty crazy. All you need is to be able to untap your Cyrano 2 or 3 times, looks very suspiciously at superior nav, and your opponent is tied up tapping his units and scrapping the odd card. So probably the way through this is to tap a unit and scrap a card, because you're only taking 1 damage, not 2. But if you've tapped your unit, it's not guarding anymore, and if it's not guarding, it can't intercept the VTOL. So you're then at a stage the following turn whereby if you haven't got a blocker, the VTOL's going to go straight through and put another counter on. So you have to make quite a balancing decision. It's quite an interesting part of the game to balance that up, playing for it and against it. And the Apocalypse Loud deck has a number of tactics to tie your units up. And get damage through, including manipulation of Romano, as we saw earlier. Manipulation of Romano, which is tap all guarding mechs, which allows your VTOLs through. It also runs misrouted command, which ties them up for 3 and they don't untap, which means that your suicide troop counters cannot be removed. So if it goes off, it's pretty nasty. It's quite horrific to be on the end of. It is a very front-loaded deck. It either gets a lot of damage in early or it doesn't and dies quite horribly. But it's important for you to know how suicide troops work. Only the guerrilla counters put on there by the vehicle with that suicide troops is triggered by the suicide troops and does damage. Once the vehicle and the troops die, then the counters are worthless, and if you black mark it and bring them back, there's no longer the connection. So you don't just put the suicide troops in again and do 4 damage 2 turns later when you've black marked it. It doesn't work like that. So it can be quite scary until you work out how to tactically neuter it and play against it. Okie dokie. Next up, Takashi Kurita's Legacy. 3 politics. Interesting that this is one of the... Is this the only legacy that costs 3? All the others cost 2? Where are we? Where's Janus? Oh, he costs 1. Hansi costs 2. Okay, so he's more of the expensive side of legacy. 3 politics buyout again. This is the Kurita one. Yes, we know about all the affiliations. Yes, we know about having Kurita cards in to get rid of them. This card is pretty crazy. Choose one of your attacking mechs. That mech gets +2 attack. Use this ability during a mission. You don't tap it. It sits there. Off you go. 2 damage extra on that one. Send your next mech across. 2 damage on that one. Send the next mech across. 2 damage on that one. It's a great finisher card. You know, you're not going to necessarily pull it early because of it being unique unless you're running hasty. But 2 damage on every attacking mech is gross. It's like having... So you've got... it's like having a final push. Well, not quite a final push, but it's like having good shooting constantly in your hand. And then you look at the... You look at the... where are we? Hansi one with 2 armor, and you think that's incredibly defensive. And this one, and you look at it and thinking, whoa, that's a game finisher. I mean, draft. This is great draft. You just got to satisfy the Kurita stuff. If you've got a few Kurita mechs that you can put down, this is pretty crazy. Very strong. You know, the only thing that stops it being played is the politics. But then you've got lots of other things kicking off here, haven't you? Where are we? The Dest Commando Strike, 4 politics, scrap, revealed 2 structure to everything on the table that's owned by other people. 2 true structures damage each opponent use it. And then you're thinking, well, you know, +2 attack the other way. There's going to be a mangle of metal and a mess there, isn't there? Tanya we've talked about when we did Lizzie. Pop them and drop them, as we've said. Right. Tormano Lau does look slightly old and slightly unwell, doesn't he? And with the girl in the background, you wonder what is going on. I'm not saying any more, being too controversial, but she does look young, even if she has had Botox or lip fillers. Unique Inner Sphere, St. Ives, another St. Ives card. Steiner, 4 armor, 1 structure. Arrow 4 food. Now you know why. People say, why do you run Arrow 4? To kill black market uniques. Oh, I never see any, and there's loads of them in here. Tap or untap a command card. Use this ability only during your missions phase, but not during a mission. Okay, so the timing on this one is quite awkward. Because you only do it during the missions phase. So you need, or if you want it to be effective, you need something that activates after the missions phase or during the missions phase. So let's look at the obvious card that I've talked about is Arrow 4. Tap, choose a site, deal a structure damage to it. Use this ability during the missions phase, but not during a mission. So with Tomano, you can tap this, do 1 damage, untap Tomano, and tap it again. And I'm sorry. Right. Attack with your Arrow 4 by tapping it to do 1 structure. Tap Tomano Loud to untap Arrow 4, and then repeat the process of attacking again. Okay, so does this get better? It gets slightly better with Thumper Battery because it's 2 damage during a mission but not during emissions. Does it work with Adam Steiner? Choose a unique unit and untap it. Use this ability during your missions phase but not during a mission. So you can use Tormano to untap Adam after Adam has been tapped because you are running a bearer deck. So you can untap again. The problem here is that Adam and Tormano are both unique. What about good old Khan? Khan Tash. Well, you can run this in an ARDC deck. Tap, choose a mech. Mech gets +3 attack. Oh, that's quite nice. Attack, tap her, give it +3. It's still in the mission, so you can't do any shenanigans. You get +3 attack. Then after the mission, you use Tormano to untap Tash and then attack with a different unit, assuming that the one you started with hasn't untapped, and give that one +3. You can't double up and get +6 out of it because Tormano's ability is only during your missions phase but not during a mission. Obviously that's useful for her because she boosts things during a mission. If you look at Ulrich, to untap all your resources, use it during the deploy phase. There is no benefit in untapping him because you're not going to get to play until your deploy phase, and he would untap naturally at the start of your turn anyway. So Tormano is a bit of a quandary because he seems to work okay or well with some things and really not with others. What was the other one I was thinking of? Good old Vlad, when he got his head on and got angry. Give him a sharp haircut and an angry voice. Counts as Vlad. Choose an opposing unit. If the unit does not attack during your opponent's next turn, scrap it. Use this ability during deploy phase again. So there's a number of ones here that don't quite work. Maybe, where's Jerry? Jerry doesn't work, but Galen might. Let's have a look. Galen Cox, mech pilot is faster. No, it doesn't work, even though he's a command card. You untap Galen, but you don't untap the mech. So it's kind of like he's got out of his mech and gone for a bit of a wander and says, hey, I'm going to block you elementals, even though my mech's a mile or two over to the side. It doesn't work. So he's a bit restrictive. I'm sure there's 1 or 2 combos where he's actually quite good, but generally he doesn't work that well. And yeah, if you can pull the combo off, then that's great, but both uniques, and just trying to pull that off seems a waste to put a lot of hasty alliances or other things in there. So please prove me wrong. Maybe that's the next challenge for today. Build a deck with Tormano Lau and tell me how something could be really cool. Okay. Vehicle Repair Barn. 0 cost. Okay, fine. Command Resource Inner Sphere. Makes sense because they're the only ones that got vehicles. I think that's a bit naff because vehicles don't include battle armor. Okay, so let's just have a quick check on that. Type contains. I think we can do. Is it battle? Does it pick up as battle? I can't remember. No, so it's keyword. Keyword contains. Where are we? Battle armor squad. See, battle armor keyword. Berserk, elemental, battle armor, battle armor, battle armor, battle armor, battle armor, battle armor. Okay, there's only 7 of them in the game, of which Paul Moon is in Crusade, and I think this is a bit naff. tap for a resource, fine. It's a generic resource generator. It costs nothing. That no doubt there. Tap, repair 1 point of damage to each of your vehicles. Use this during your reload repair phase. Okay. So this was great when you had vehicles roll scrapping on a 6. Scrapping on a 5 and 6, it doesn't really make much difference because generally they're either dead or they're not. I honestly think they should have put battle armor in this or included them in it, because they're not classified as vehicles. They're classified as a unit, and okay, that makes some differences, but I just feel this is a wasted opportunity. And this was in every deck, or there was 1 or 2 in every deck before they changed the die roll, and then there were none in any deck. And I think I don't see why it needs to be resource or inner sphere. I think it could be opened up. I think if you're playing Iron Man singleton, then you would put this in just for the resource. The fact that you're only allowed 1A, 1S, 1N, 1T. This is the fact that this is a resource. You could put this into play for that, and it would count. It would be great in a Iron Man pure singleton deck, where you can only have 1 copy of every card, and that includes basic resources. Don Smith, where are you? Come on, Don. I challenged you with that. I want you to put that one in place. Okay, I'll even let you put vehicle repair barn in. I just think this should do battle armor as well. And then Zhang Zhen Diguan terrorism. Scrap Zhang Zhen Diguan terrorism when it's revealed. Choose an opponent. If the opponent makes any deployments during his next turn, deal 4 damage to his or her stockpile. If not, deal 2 damage to your stockpile. You may make an additional deployment this turn when you activate it. And we know what happened in Arsenal. Everyone went free deployments and spammed them everywhere. It would be better if this was 2 damage per deployment, maybe. Because then if they deliver 6 vehicles, because they're all Hollanders and stuff, then at least they pay the cost for it, and you pay 2 for them not doing stuff, so it kind of cuts both ways. You scrap it, it makes a deployment, it replaces itself. It's quite costly at 3 for politics. Yes, you can get it free with Max and Sonny if you've got the combo out. If you haven't got the combo out, it's wasted. Never saw play. Never saw play. Everyone else was spamming vehicles left, right, and centre. So, yeah. Right, there you go. There is the Inner Sphere command cards, all looked at in detail, all 24 of them from the Arsenal set. And as I said, some of these are really, really strong. Some of these aren't that great. There's quite a mixed bag there. Some of them are borderline broken, or borderline bonkers is probably the better phrase. People say you shouldn't use broken because you scare people. Okay, fine. They're borderline bonkers. But you know, that's where it is. And maybe some of the lunacy came out once they'd decided, or there are other cards in there. Certainly I think Katrina Steiner's legacy was slept on. Max's legacy was out there. In fact, I've got a deck that I might even play on or go through from a GenCon tournament where I played a deck that included this, and yeah, that was pretty brutal. Some of these, again, Takashi's, I think, in the right deck. This kicks bottom. Some of the others I think I've sat on. Tanya and Elizabeth got played by Charlie Cantino in the R&D challenge, which was where Wizards of the Coast designers played players from the local area, and in order to not lose face, they fixed the final round draw so that Charlie would get into the final, and they actually had someone in the top 4. Otherwise, they wouldn't have had a player in there. and Doug Harvillia won, if I remember rightly. Again, I'll have a look at that one of these days, but that's the only time I've seen them play. But they're quite good. Oh, and Rob Matthews beat the crap out of me in the UK Nationals in the first round. Sorry, second round, first game with them. Although I think he used Solaris contracts incorrectly to put them into play. But hey, that is what it is. That's a long time ago. Yeah, and there's some utter crap. Utter crap in there. So it's quite a mixed bag, but what you've got to say is that the good cards that the Inner Sphere got were good. The crap was crap. But if you're giving 24 cards, where's my little numbery graphic? When you're giving people 24 cards and you're saying that, let's say 8 of them are really good, 8 of them are really crap, and 8 of them are mediocre, an average split, and then you only get 5 cards, even if those 5 cards are absolutely stellar, bonkers brilliant, you probably still feel a bit pissed off. So anyway, I've done those now. I'm changing that over. I have clan mechs to do. I have Inner Sphere vehicles to do, and I have the battle armor to do. And I'm going to do those on another day. So until then, I will wish you a very good day, very good rest of it, whatever it is. I hope you look after yourself, because it's a big, bad world out there. And I will see you on another day for another deal of the cards. And catch you then. Enjoy yourselves. Look after.